Okay, so I know it's been a while since I made the first glitch revisit video for Breath of the Wild, and I've kept you guys waiting for far too long. So I'm keeping my promise and I'm finally getting to making part 2. We covered a fair bit of interesting and basic glitches in part 1, but this time we'll be covering more complicated and frankly more insane glitches. This video is going to be a long one, so strap in and get ready for some crazy shit. Being able to clip out of bounds is something that every 3D Zelda game has, and this game is no exception. There are plenty of different methods of clipping in this game, though most of them only allow you to clip through walls. But this one in particular allows you to clip through the ground. To do this, you'll need to find something that Link can jump off of and land on the ground without taking damage. You'll need to perform a shield surf jump and go into bullet time as soon as possible. Just as you hit the ground, hit the X button once. After that, you'll want to press the X button 3 times in short bursts, leaving a space between the button presses. You can listen to the audio to sort of get a better idea of what I'm talking about. If you do this enough times, you will fall through the ground, in which at that point, you can exit bullet time and explore the area. As I mentioned, you can do this pretty much anywhere. So if you wanted to see what Hyrule Castle would look like when you clip underground, you can do that. You can also see what the boss room looks like from above. Also, real quick, you guys remember in my first video where I said that this glitch with the water only happens on the Wii U version?
Also, if you look up, there's this weird rainbow coloring in certain places. Now this only happens on the Wii U version and not the Switch version.
Yeah, I stand corrected. It happens on the Switch as well. My bad. You can do this on Sheikah Towers as well, but there's not much to do aside from climbing on the inside, which is interesting, I guess. Most of you probably remember exactly how you felt when you first saw the Blood Moon. It may have been a confusing and maybe even frightening experience like it was for me, but now it's pretty clear what the Blood Moon is intended to do. Essentially, it acts as a failsafe to keep players from killing every enemy in the game. If no such failsafe existed, then players may have been able to do just that. Unfortunately for Nintendo, they didn't exactly keep that from happening. There is actually a way to keep the enemies from respawning even after the Blood Moon passes. To do this, you'll need to warp to any location before the cutscene starts. The cutscene starts at midnight, so what I would recommend is to count 4 seconds after the clock hits 11:55. And after that, you can open the map and choose any location to warp to. Once you have warped, the clock should be past midnight and the Blood Moon cutscene will not play. And if you go to a location where you have killed enemies, you'll find that they have not respawned. Even after this happens, the Blood Moon cycle will continue as normal. So if you want to commit mass genocide on every enemy in the game, then you can do that. Since we're still on the topic of the Blood Moon, I figured we should use it in a way that's not so common. And that's right, we've got another clip. And this is actually another way to clip out of bounds in Hyrule Castle. Once you've got yourself a Blood Moon, go to Hyrule Castle and make it to this point on the map. Once you get there, you'll want to get rid of this Guardian and set a campfire. Now you're going to want to sit at the campfire until any point after the Blood Moon passes. And once you do that, the cutscene should play. Now go ahead and skip the cutscene, and when you load back in, the Guardian will be sitting on top of you and push you through the ground. If you move around enough, you'll be able to fall out of bounds and explore just like the Ollie clip. Now you might be asking, why can't we just wait for the clock to hit midnight and then watch the cutscene that way? Well, the cutscene doesn't actually play in Hyrule Castle, and this clip relies on the cutscene to make the Guardian respawn. So if the cutscene doesn't play, the Guardian doesn't respawn, causing the clip not to work. Here we have another method of clipping out of bounds. Unlike the last two methods, this one allows you to clip through walls, and this opens the door to another sequence break that we'll look at in just a second. Just a heads up, this is probably the most complicated glitch in this video, so we're going to spend some time looking at it. Before we can do the clip itself, we need to understand how it works. Shield surfing into a wall is not going to get you any results, unless you have what's known as a skew. A skew is when Link pivots very quickly to one side after a cancelled shield surf. To obtain a skew, you need to perform a shield surf and land on a slope. And since you can't shield surf up a slope, it'll just end. Now, if you do a shield surf and unequip the shield while in midair, you'll notice that Link will change his angle very quickly before landing, and this is the key to getting a clip. You need to unequip the shield before the shield boarding animation ends, otherwise you will lose your skew. Touching the ground with your shield will also eliminate the skew. Another thing to keep in mind is how steep the slope is. To test if the slope is good enough to obtain a noticeable skew, try to walk up the slope and see what happens. If Link can walk up the slope easily without slipping, it's unlikely you'll get a good skew. However, if Link slips and slides down the slope, it's very likely that you'll get a good skew. Once you have your skew, you'll need to keep something else in mind. You can't just clip through any wall once you have your skew. In order to clip, your skew has to move Link away from the wall and then back into it. The general rule of thumb is to get a skew that's facing the wall that you want to clip through. Once you have your skew, just line yourself up with the wall and perform a shield surf jump. Once you're in the air, unequip your shield and hold forward, and Link should clip through the wall. This isn't guaranteed to work 100% of the time, so if it doesn't work the first time, just keep trying until you get the clip. If you can't get it to work at all, try resetting your skew. It is also worth mentioning that skews will persist through different saves, loading screens, fast traveling, and even switching between normal and master mode. You can use this in Trial of the Sword to skip all of the other rooms and head directly to the final room. You'll need to make sure that your skew is good enough to clip before you do it, because if it doesn't work, trying to get a new skew in Trial of the Sword kinda sucks. So I would recommend testing it in the Ya-Rin Shrine, which is the shrine closest to Lurlin Village. We're not quite done with the skew glitch just yet, but thankfully this one isn't that complicated. Something weird can happen if you get a skew while in bullet time. The setup for getting the skew is going to be a little bit different. First, you'll need to find a slope that has a high enough point to where you can jump down onto it. Once you found that spot, do a shield surf and then go into bullet time. While you're in bullet time, you'll need to turn Link towards the slope so that when he lands, the shield surf will be cancelled. After you've done that, shield surf in place and unequip your shield, and when you land, Link should bounce up into the air. The reason this happens is because Link's skew is so strong that it causes him to smack into the ground and bounce upward. Just like before, the steeper the slope, the stronger the skew will be. And in this instance, it determines how high you'll bounce. This can be very useful for combat as well, and it's especially useful for getting a quick kill on Calamity Ganon. The Sheikah Slate gives you many useful features, like being able to warp to any location you choose, marking specific areas that you need to travel to, or even taking nice pictures of the environment, or yourself. There is also the scope, which allows you to set pins as an alternative way to mark locations, but it also comes with the feature of being able to push Link through a wall. This is particularly useful for skipping the intro cutscene, which is done in the speedrun to save a few seconds. To do it, you'll need to pick up the Sheikah Slate when you start the game, and once you have it, you'll need to use the scope for the first time to get rid of the little mini cutscene. Next, you'll want to go to this side of the room, climb up this corner, and just start running into the wall like this. You'll want to turn the camera so that it's in front of Link and looking down at him. At this point, you'll want to angle the camera to where Link sort of bounces up and down every now and then. To clip through, you'll need to press the scope button when Link bounces. The timing for this is pretty difficult, so you might just want to mash the button until you clip through. Once you clip through, you'll want to climb this mountain until you reach this spot. Right now, we're trapped underneath the collision of the floor, but if you crouch walk in the right spot and then stand up, you should just clip through the collision and end up on the outside. And that is how you skip the intro cutscene. Doing this has some side effects though. First off, the time of day will never change because we never watched the intro cutscene, so it'll always be early morning until you watch the cutscene. You can do more with this glitch than just skipping the cutscene. If you jump on top of the shrine and walk towards the exit, the cutscene will play, but a couple things will be messed up. Link will be stuck in place because he's walking into a wall while trying to reach the cliff. The camera will also be messed up since it can't move towards the cliff, and when it rotates, you'll be greeted with this. This is just straight up nightmare fuel. Also, I like how the old man is just like, yeah, I'll pass. If you explore a little bit more, you'll find these holes that lead very far underneath the map. If you jump down into the hole, there's a chance you could clip through it, and you'll be greeted with this watery wonderland. Sometimes you won't clip through and it'll just look like this the whole time. This game is really, really broken. You can also use this in the Twin Peaks shrines to skip the annoying puzzles just by riding up the elevator to the top, gliding to the end of the shrine, and then walking into the wall at an angle like this, and then using the scope to clip through the wall, allowing you to complete the shrines without doing the puzzles. Earlier, I mentioned that you could take pictures with the Sheikah Slate using the camera rune. That's all well and good, but I wouldn't be talking about it right now if there wasn't something weird about it. There's only so much you can do while using the camera, which in this case is being able to move only while in landscape mode. But there is a way to move in portrait mode as well. If you target, use the camera, and crouch at the same time, you'll be able to move around like normal. But if you side hop, you'll be able to walk around in portrait mode. Admittedly, there's not much use for this in the overworld, but there is a use for it in another glitch that we'll be looking at later on. The Cryonis block is a very versatile tool that can be used in a variety of situations. Sometimes you need it to open gates, and other times you can use it as a way to travel through water, or even against the current. Overall, it's a very useful tool, but you can get some very interesting results if you use it while in bullet time. If you place an object over some water, place a Cryonis block under it, and then go into bullet time as the block rises, the object will fly very high into the air. This can be done with virtually any object, ranging from weapons, items, boxes, rocks, chests, basically anything you can think of. One thing to note is the timing of which you should go into bullet time. When you place a Cryonis block, the block doesn't rise until after about a second, so you want to go into bullet time at any point after the block starts to rise. If you go too early, the item won't get much height. One of my favorite things to do this with is a Guardian. There is one in the Lanayru wetlands which is surrounded by ankle-deep water, so that makes it very easy. Just do the same thing as before and watch it fly. You can also do this with the Master Cycle, though it doesn't have the same effect. There's one more thing you can launch with the Cryonis block, and believe it or not, it's Link. What you'll need for this is a waterfall. First, place a block on the waterfall and stand on it. Then you'll need to place another one next to it. As the block is coming towards you, perform a shield surf jump into it and then quickly go into bullet time. Once you've been launched, exit bullet time and pull out the paraglider, and you'll be flying at insane speeds. This makes it easier to get from one place to another very quickly, but soon we'll look at some other methods that make you go even faster. Now, I want to revisit something that I covered in my very first video. You might remember this glitch where during the Dark Beast Ganon fight, you could use a horse to clip outside the barrier just by getting off on the right side. This would push Link through the wall and allow you to carry on as normal while being able to use the Bow of Light outside the boss arena, which normally you couldn't do. However, if you were to try this now, you won't have any success because an earlier patch actually fixed this. Thankfully, there is an alternative way of clipping through the barrier that still works on the latest patch. This is known as Stasis Clipping, where we use an object that can be frozen in time with the Stasis rune and use its velocity to push us through virtually any wall in the game. In the Ganon fight, you'll find the Mabe Village ruins with a couple of metal boxes which we can use to stasis clip. You can grab the box with magnesis and set it up against the barrier, but leave just enough room to where you can squeeze through the gap and fall between the box and the barrier. Next, freeze it with stasis and hit it at least 11 times with the Master Sword, and climb over it and fall in between the box and just push into it. If done correctly, the box should launch and hit you through the wall. After that, you can go on your merry way and enjoy using the Bow of Light to one-shot enemies. Stasis can be used for more than just clipping through walls. It can also be used as another way to gain a tremendous amount of speed, similar to the Cryonis block launch. For this one, you'll need to stasis an object and hit it multiple times with your weapon until the arrow becomes red. Then you'll need to climb onto the object, and just before the object launches, jump into the path of the red arrow and the object should hit you and launch you into the air. After you've been launched, you can pull out your paraglider and you will be flying at very high speeds. Even though they can cover huge distances, stasis launches by themselves really aren't that fast. But you can actually double the speed of a normal stasis launch by doing what's called a super launch. A super launch is where you do a normal stasis launch and then pull out the paraglider on a lag frame. You can induce lag frames by either going into the quick menu and exiting, or pausing and unpausing. You're generally going to get a lot more lag frames by looking towards the ground, since that's where most details are, like grass, shrubbery, and other things. I'll leave a link in the description to a video made by Zant, where he goes into detail about lag induction and how to utilize it in doing super launches. I'm not sure if it's become obvious yet, but I kinda like going fast. It's not just objects that can be used to obtain high speeds, you can also use enemies. If you land on an enemy while doing a shield surf in bullet time, you will either be launched straight up into the air, or you'll be launched at very high speeds. This is even faster than both stasis launching and Cryonis block launching. To do it, you'll need to find an enemy that you want a bullet time bounce off of. The Kobolins will typically work best for this. Once you find the enemy, you want to freeze it or electrocute it. You don't necessarily have to do this, but it does make it easier because then the enemy won't be moving around as much. Now, perform a shield surf off a high place, and then go into bullet time. If you position yourself correctly, you should land on the enemy and be sent flying either upwards or forwards. The direction you go is based on how you landed on the enemy. If you land directly on top of the enemy, you'll go straight up. But if you land on the very edge of the enemy, you'll launch forward with an immense amount of speed. This was the fastest way to get around Hyrule for a pretty long time, but the next method made it so that we don't have to rely on enemies just to go fast. Link has a certain item that can do a lot in helping him gain speed, and that would be his bombs. We can use a bomb to push a second bomb into Link, which will give him enough velocity to be able to fly very fast. Link's bombs are on him at all times, which means we can do this pretty much anywhere. so we don't have to rely on any enemies or other objects just to be able to launch. And before anyone asks, yes, you can do super launches with these methods as well. We'll be looking at 3 different methods that you can use for a bomb impact launch. First, we'll look at the double backflip method. You'll need to find an object that's about half Link's height. A broken wall or even a tree stump will work just fine. Line up with the object, do 2 backflips, and then place a square bomb in front of you. Now make your way over to the object, climb on top of it, do a backflip, and then go into bullet time just at the peak of Link's jump. Now we're going to need to place the second bomb in the air, which is strictly timing based. The best way to time this is to look for the camera to pan down ever so slightly. It looks a bit like this. Once you notice this happen, place the circle bomb, then quickly switch to the square bomb and detonate it. This will cause the circle bomb to fly directly into Link and propel him forward, allowing you to go very fast. After that, pull the paraglider to retain your speed. The second method is called the wind bomb. This is where you can get a bomb impact launch while using the paraglider. First, you want to find an area that is high enough to where you can use the paraglider and go into bullet time. Now you'll need to jump and use the paraglider. After that, you'll need to pull a circle bomb and go into bullet time at the same time. Now switch to the square bomb and wait until about 1/3 of the stamina wheel has been consumed. At that point, you'll want to place the square bomb and then switch back to the circle bomb. Now wait until the whole stamina wheel has been consumed and then detonate the circle bomb. And Link should get launched like he did with the double backflip method. This is a really good method because you can actually chain multiple bomb impact launches while in the air. The final method is called the ledge method, and this has the fastest setup time of the 3. First, find any ledge and jump off while holding target. As soon as you jump, place the circle bomb and go into bullet time. The timing will look something like this. Now switch to the square bomb, place it, and then switch back to the circle bomb and detonate it. Once you've been launched, pull the paraglider to retain your speed. Now, if you're using this method, you're going to get a lot more consistency if you use one of the 4 cardinal directions, or the 4 intermediate directions. This method may be a bit challenging to pull off considering how many quick inputs there are, but after some practice, you should be able to get it down. Believe it or not, we are not done with the bomb glitches just yet, and for all intents and purposes, I think this one may actually obsolete bomb impact launches. We're actually going to be making use of some glitches that I showed off in part 1. First, we're going to start off with bow smuggling. Just place a bomb in front of you, hold target, then press ZR and A shortly after. If you did all of that, Link will pick up the bomb while still holding the bow in his hand. Next, you'll need to jump. Then in midair, press B and then pause. You should see Link starting to put the bow away. After you pause, unequip your shield and then unpause. If done correctly, Link should be holding the bomb over his head. Now aim the bow, press B to cancel, and then start moving around. And you'll see that Link is running around with the bomb still in his hand, but he's not holding it. Now comes the fun part. You'll need to find a ledge that Link can step up onto just like this. Walk towards the ledge, and as you approach it, hold B. When you step up, this will happen. For some reason, Link will just start floating in the air. Now, you may notice if you try and move around a little bit, you don't get a lot of speed. But if you turn around and start alternating the control stick left and right, you'll notice that you actually start to gain some speed. To influence the direction you want to go, you have to turn the opposite direction that you're facing, and then start alternating the control stick. Once you've gained enough speed, you can just hold forward on the control stick. Your speed does gradually decrease over time, so just make sure to keep that in mind. You also have to hold B and any direction on the control stick the whole time. Otherwise, if you let go of B or the control stick falls back in neutral, then you just fall. The best part of this glitch is that it doesn't use any stamina whatsoever. This means that you can fly as long as you want, as far as you want, without worrying about stamina. You can also use this to skip the entirety of Lost Woods and get to Korok Forest early. Speaking of Korok Forest, there's a special sword there that we can actually get without needing the required number of hearts, which is usually 13. First off, place a campfire next to the Master Sword and then light it. Now position yourself between the Master Sword and the campfire until the A prompt changes to sit. Now look directly up into the sky and then press A to sit at the fire. Choose any time of day and then just wait for the cutscene. Once you fade back in, start mashing A and then you should pick up the Master Sword. And that's how you get the Master Sword without getting the required number of hearts. It's literally that easy. A funny side effect of this is that it still gives you the option to try and pick up the Master Sword from the pedestal, despite it being in your inventory already. So when you try and pick it up, it looks a little bit ridiculous. There's a lot that you can do with items in this game. You can make some useful dishes that will give Link different abilities, or you can use them to upgrade equipment. But what if I told you that you could also use them to stand on a horse or motorcycle while riding it? Well, with this glitch, you can. To start off, find any body of water, stand about shoulder deep, and then face the shore. Also, make sure to have bombs equipped at this point. Either one will work just fine. Next, go to the inventory and select an item to hold. After that, unpause, jump, and drop a bomb in midair, and the bomb should appear in front of Link. Now this is where it gets a bit complicated. You're going to want to detonate the bomb and pause on a specific frame of the explosion. This is the frame that you're going to want. There needs to be a dark blue center with a white outline around it. Any frame before or after this will not work. Once you've paused and found the right frame, warp to any location of your choosing. After you warp, nothing will appear to be different in gameplay, but when you go to the inventory screen, you'll see that Link is holding his hands out, but he's not holding anything. This tells you that the glitch worked. Keep in mind that certain actions will deactivate this glitch, such as pulling a bomb, holding another item after the glitch has been done, or even just switching between tabs in the inventory screen. Now let's get to the most interesting application of this glitch, which is doing this. You can do this by getting hold smuggling, finding an enemy with a bow, and allowing them to shoot an arrow at your shield. If you climb onto your horse, you will climb and pick up the arrow at the same time. Now pause, hold an item, unpause, pause again, and then press X to drop the item, unpause, and close the text box. After all of that, Link will be standing on top of the horse. For this to work, keep in mind that you cannot pick up any arrows prior to doing this trick, otherwise, you won't get the item text box, which is what this trick relies on. Because of this method is not very popular. The easier method is to get hold smuggling, and then go to Hyrule Castle and defeat Calamity Ganon. Once you've done that and you've entered the Dark Beast Ganon fight, pick up the Bow of Light, and what do you know, we got ourselves a text box. Just do the same thing as before, and when you close the text box, you'll be standing on your horse or Master Cycle. Just a heads up, you can only move around like this while on the Master Cycle. Unlike every other 3D Zelda game, Link was given a jump button, and this came with one of the most broken physics-defying glitches in this game's history, bullet time bouncing being the first, of course. This glitch resembles a cheat code used in, well, pretty much every game known to man at this point, but unlike cheats, this can be done in-game. To set this up, we'll need to go to the Faron region, where there's a minigame for you to practice your archery skills while riding a horse. First, take a stop at the Highland Stable to take a horse, then head over to the location of the minigame and talk to this guy to start it. When the minigame starts, turn around and start heading towards the ridge and head up the slope away from the wild horses. At this point, you'll want to stop and wait for the timer to hit around 12 seconds. It should be noted that if you touch the ground at all during this minigame, or if you run out of time, the game will end and you'll be sent back to the beginning. So with this in mind, we want to land on a different horse while the timer is still ticking. The horse needs to have a wild temper, so that when you land on it, it will try and throw you off. I've had the most success with the turquoise horse, but there are other horses that will work just fine. Once the clock hits around 12 seconds, jump off your horse and paraglide to the one that you want to mount. When you land on the horse, it should start flailing around and the minigame will end. When you go back to the beginning, this should happen. Now you have a couple options here. You can just sit and watch yourself bounce up into the air, but if you do that for too long, another area will load and the glitch will stop working. You can also quit the minigame entirely, which is exactly what we're going to do. Once you're done talking to the guy, we would normally be able to start riding on the horse again, but instead, we'll be floating on top of the horse and watching it flip out. Now at this point, you're going to want to warp somewhere, and once you've done that, let's see what happens when you jump. You'll notice that the jump animation is a bit shorter than normal, but if you start mashing the jump button, Link will start levitating. This happens because the game assumes that you're still standing or floating on a horse even after fast traveling, which leaves Link in this strange grounded state. Also, the game thinks that you're always on the ground, so you actually can't take any fall damage. With this glitch, you can go pretty much anywhere you want to. I mean, the possibilities with this are limitless. There are a couple side effects from this glitch though, such as being able to walk through mud without drowning. Also, if you place a Cryonis block over yourself, you'll actually be able to see underneath the mud. You can also do things like this. This wasn't my idea, thought I'd just put that out there. Another side effect is that if you enter a body of water and then get out of it, the stamina wheel will do something really strange. If you use any stamina from something like sprinting or spin attacking, you won't regain any lost stamina. Rather, the stamina wheel will just stay where it is. Another really interesting side effect from this is if you do a backflip and then jump slash, you'll actually be able to use the paraglider. Now, instead of putting it away after landing, you'll actually be able to use the paraglider while on the ground. And this has a really cool effect. You'll be able to go up very steep slopes as if they just don't exist. Of course, there are some slopes that are just too steep to go up, and you'll just grab onto it. With this glitch, you can also get back to the Sanctum from the Calamity Ganon boss room, but in doing that, the cutscene for Calamity Ganon will play. You can do this as many times as you want to. We've covered many interesting glitches in this video, but there's still one more glitch that we have to look at. I saved this one for last because, well, you'll see. First off, you'll need to find a shrine that has a motion control apparatus in it. The most convenient shrine is the Miyam Agana Shrine. I know I probably didn't pronounce that correctly, but it's the shrine located in Hateno village. To get Apparatus Storage, you'll need to make sure that you have the camera rune and at least one memory unlocked. To start off, we'll be using the camera walking glitch from earlier. Once again, just target, then use the camera and crouch at the same time, and then side hop to go into portrait mode. At this point, you'll want to walk up to the apparatus and try and use it, and instead of playing the minigame, you'll just take a picture. Now delete the picture and immediately pause, then find something in your inventory to hold. You'll want to unpause and pause again. Now switch over to the adventure log and try watching a memory. Instead of playing, nothing will happen, but if you unpause the game, you'll notice that you'll be controlling Link and the apparatus at the same time. There's a few interesting effects that come with this glitch. For example, if you do Apparatus Storage and then jump into the void, Link won't actually die, he'll just be falling for eternity. From here, if you load a save from outside the shrine, Link will spawn and immediately die. The game will attempt to put you back in the area you were just in, but instead of putting you back in the shrine, it'll put you underneath Hyrule. There's not much use to this other than just sightseeing, but you do get to see the watery wonderland firsthand, so that's a win in my book. This only happens when you load a save in Hyrule, but if you do this on a Divine Beast, you'll spawn underneath the Divine Beast because it's on a separate map. Here's another effect that's actually pretty interesting. If you load a save from outside the shrine after doing this glitch, then Apparatus Storage will actually stay active outside of the shrine. Now, if you try using the paraglider, you'll see that it doesn't quite work properly. Instead of gliding, you'll fall to the ground just like you would without the paraglider. The only really useful thing about this is that it allows you to fall from very high places without taking any damage, but that's about it. However, as soon as you fast travel, you'll lose the effects of Apparatus Storage. However, there is a way to make it so that Apparatus Storage will always be active, even during fast traveling. There's a lot of steps with this, so bear with me. First of all, make sure you have a save both inside the shrine and outside. Now do the same Apparatus Storage setup as before, but instead of watching a memory, load the save inside of the shrine. Once you load back in, do the exact same setup, and this time load the save outside of the shrine. Once you've done that, Apparatus Storage will now be active even if you fast travel. Another effect is that certain climate conditions won't affect you. You can walk through very hot or cold places without any protective gear, elixirs, or anything of the sort. As you can see, I'm walking through Death Mountain without the Flame Guard armor set, and nothing is happening to me. Not even the Lizalfos Fire Breath will do anything. Link is pretty much immune to anything elemental. The only exception to this is freezing water and lava, which can still do damage. However, there is another effect that stems from climate immunity. If you stand in lava to the point where it only does damage to you and you warp to another location, the burning effect will persist. No matter where you are, if you have a flammable weapon equipped, it will catch on fire. If you do this with bomb arrows though, you'll get this result. I don't know if it was just me, but this was really funny the first time I did this. Doing this for a long period of time will actually make you start gaining height, so if you want to find out how high you can go with this, you might want to stock up on bomb arrows. I used this to hover to the top of Ganon's boss room just like the moon jump, but unlike moon jump, the Ganon cutscene wouldn't play. This is because Link is in a constant ragdoll state, and cutscenes won't play if you're in the ragdoll animation. And that is all of the glitches in this video. And believe it or not, despite all of the very complex glitches that I showed in this video, we're still not done with this game. There's still a lot of glitches in this game that I have yet to cover, so I'm actually going to be creating probably a couple more videos on this game. I do want to quickly apologize for making you guys wait about a year for this video to come out. I've just been very busy lately and I haven't really had a lot of time to make videos, but I'm back and I'm planning on making more. So keep a lookout for some more U-Glitch content. I'm already planning on making more videos, and those will come out eventually. Thank you guys so much for watching this video, and if you enjoyed it, make sure to leave a like to show your support. Also, consider subscribing if you want to see more content like this, and don't forget to hit that bell so you'll get notifications every time I upload. Other than that, thank you guys so much for watching. Be sure to check out some of my other videos that I've made in the past, and I'll see you guys in my future videos. Bye!